And speaking of the intergroup office, there is a triangle box right back there. If you can. And Gordon has agreed to come up and introduce our speaker for tonight.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gordon Accord, and I'm cross addicted. Our speaker tonight, he was my sponsor at one point in time, sponsee, and yeah, keep me honest. To be truthful, I didn't have God in me because after him going out a couple times, I had fired him because I thought he was hopeless, that he wasn't going to get it. But he came back and he hit this program harder than I've seen most people do, and I'm pretty proud of this man. He's changed his life from living in the woods. Now he's got his own place. He's got a killer job over. He's just an amazing man. Well, I'm going to let him tell the story because I'm not going to be able to tell it quite as good as him. Y'all have fun.
Thanks, babe. Right? Hey, you guys should see the other guy, right? My name's Jason. I'm an alcoholic. I'm blessed to be a member of the program Alcoholics Anonymous, and I like that there's no completion date, that we never graduate, because if you would ask my ex-wife about the deck, I'm no good at finishing shit, so I'm very horrible at that stuff, but this is an amazing life to be sober and to have a God of my understanding, and I think other fellowships teach about a God of their own understanding, like their own individual relationship with God. And I think that's very important because before this program, I didn't even believe in God. I'm 44 now. I think I went maybe my first 42 years without even believing in God. I see people go up to altar calls, stuff like that at church, and I would always feel something like pulling at me, and I would feel like I wanted to go up there, but I wasn't going to have those people. I wasn't going to be humbled like that. There was just no way. There was no way that I could do that. And throughout my life, I felt something tugging at me, but I was just never going to do it. It couldn't be that simple, really. So I had to complicate stuff. But, really, I think my problems, we had foster kids in my house. My parents were foster parents, so we had kids in and out of there, and they got foster parent of the year a couple years, and so we always had different people, different personalities to deal with, so that was a little different. I think that's why I became like a social butterfly. I got used to different people in my life, and so that was a little bit different experience, but you get attached to some kids, and then they leave, and some became brothers and sisters, but never knew my biological dad. Only met him once. I was blessed to meet my Aunt Dawn or see her again today, and that's such a great experience because that's the whole side of the family. I need to get to know those people because I love you and I love him even though he's gone, even though he was never there for me. But it's important that some things are still important to me because I love people these days. But at 13, I think that's really when my problem started, is because I wasn't diagnosed with bipolar, but I started to go into psychiatric hospitals, sometimes short links of time, sometimes longer links. But I was ashamed of going into those places because you don't really want to come out to your friends or whatever and say where you've been at. And so I was really ashamed, so I became a liar, a big liar. And, I'm a go big or stay at home guy, so I always lied. And that just became a way of life for me, and just never very proud of myself. So that continued for a long time, and I've been to psychiatric units most of my life. That stopped a couple years ago, thanks to God and thanks to this program, because I found other ways to deal with my problems. I didn't always want to die, but I had an inappropriate way of reaching out for help. I couldn't tell people. I didn't want to reach out for help. I didn't want to reach out to God. I didn't want to reach out to anyone in like work environments, they'd ask if you're good working with people or working with others. I would say both, but I really wanted to work on my own. I would make a million parts, and then I would be pissed off at myself if I messed up one part, in a month's time. So I expected a lot from myself, but the lying started, and at 19 years old, I started smoking weed. I went to a party, and I found marijuana, and I felt like I belonged, and I felt like I found a crowd that I could get along with, and I didn't have to lie about where I'd been at anymore, and these people accepted me because misery loves company. So, I'd found, and I thought I really had friends. I use the term friend loosely most of my life, like a lot of people did, and, about a week before I was 21, I started to drink. I asked people what the strongest drink was, Long Island iced tea, so the first time I got drunk, I, like 30 mile an hour curb, I did like 70 into a telephone pole, and that didn't end very well. Flew through the windshield. The car was only 6 days old. I remember that. It was a really nice car. And so my problems began to start right away when I started to drink. And, at 23, met my ex-wife. We were married 17 years, had 2 beautiful kids. I wish I would have been there more for my kids, but the truth is that I was sort of a tyrant, when I didn't have alcohol, and I wasn't there for my kids, and especially when it comes to my kids, I had to get to a point to where I'm sort of content with a past that I regret, because there's no doubt that I wouldn't do those things today, put it that way, and because I love my kids very much, and but you just have to move on and do your best. I just always tell myself that as long as I stay sober, one day at a time, that things will continually improve. Might be just a little bit, but that's okay. They're not going to get worse. If I was to get drunk, things would get worse bad, because my kids are finally believing in me, and and having faith, because it took them a long time to even get to the point to where they're at now. So, I was married, and things were decent most of the time. I drank every chance I could get. I smoked weed. If I didn't have weed or alcohol, I was smoking weed. Ex-mother-in-law sent me to rehab, paid out of pocket to the Gilmore, and I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was chasing women there. I just didn't want to be there. I wanted them to be happy, but I didn't want to stop drinking. That was not really what this was all about, going to rehab a couple times. So, this is easier to say that you're going to get up here than it is to actually get up here. But, she hung on. My ex-wife, we were married 17 years. She hung on way longer than she should have. If I could go back in time, I would tell her to leave me. I would tell her to get the fuck out and go find someone. Just get the kids away from me, because if I wasn't happy, nobody was happy in the household. And, I affected my kids. That's why I'm still working on the relationship with them. But it was like 2010 when it really got bad. I come home she called and left a message with my boss and said that I needed to find a ride home, because we only had one car at the time. So, I go home, brother gives me a ride home, the house is cleaned out. And but I said this last time I spoke, but it's really important that I didn't give a care about all the stuff that was gone. But I just remember thinking, like, I wanted my brother to leave, because I got a couple of 40s on the way home, and I wanted to drink. And I just remember thinking that I could finally drink the way I always wanted to drink, because I would tell her literally that I felt like I was under her thumb. And, so I got what I wanted. And I remember when I come to that morning in the closet, we had a walk-in closet, and I was hiding beer bottles in there. But she wasn't there. No one was coming home. So this is the first morning I came to after she left. And I remember seeing them and thinking, I got an awful hangover. And the house is just a trash mess. And I just remember thinking that I finally got what I always wanted, and it was the worst thing for me that I could possibly have gotten, because she, in a lot of ways, prolongs my life. She prolongs me, or she got me out of a lot of trouble. And so, I remember we went back and forth trying to get back together. Remember that Jeff Dunham, because he's a comedian. A lot of people like him. I can't stand him because it reminds me of, and it's not that he's not funny, but I can't watch him because I remember at the time when we were trying to get back together that my daughter and my ex-wife were laughing at him. They're like, "Oh, you got to watch this guy," and they were laughing, and it was a time in my life that I couldn't even fake a smile. And I remember driving down the road, flipping people off, going up to people in Walmart, asking them what they're looking at, and I was on self-destruct. I was looking for a fight, and I was angry at everyone else, and everyone else had done me wrong, and I wasn't at a point to where I knew that I created this hell for myself. So I was hurt, and I remember when I was working at this machine shop for a couple weeks after she had left me and we were back and forth, that I would do these headrest things, and I'd go for my machine. Sometimes I'd have to look up when I go to a different part of the shop, and there was this lady down there and a guy, and I'd look at him, and I always had tears in my eyes. I just remember telling myself, you got to get it together. Like, people are going to think you're fucking nuts. People know what was going on, so I was trying to like hide this stuff, but I just couldn't stop because I was a wreck. So I got another DUI, my second DUI shortly after that, and really this whole thing started. I mean, more psychiatric institutions, and then around that time I went to the state hospital, and so I graduated. Yeah, and but it was around 2015 it was April 2015 when my parents didn't want me around. I went to New Beginnings for the first time, and we used to do meetings in a gazebo. There was sometimes only 2 or 3 of us, but we'd always go to meetings, and I got used to talking to people, and we weren't even talking about it was like the lamest meeting, but it got me introduced to meetings, and I always read how it works, and that's why I got that memorized, and it got me some exposure, and I didn't really want to even stop drinking. I wanted to stop being homeless, and just one thing after another. That was the worst time of my life because, over 2000, from 2010 or 15 till 2015 to the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, I've been at the mission several times, or just they put me in an AFC home once. That's adult foster care, because I was such a hot mess, because I had nobody. They were running out of places to put me. I look back at those situations that I can't believe that was me. But I remember thinking, people with homes and people with cars, people that were happy, that was going to always be for other people. And just remember being at New Beginnings 4 times. It was the worst time, next to the separation from my ex-wife, that I ever experienced. And I'd come back here, and I'd get some experience, get like 5 or 6 months here cleaning. But I still didn't have a relationship with God. I learned to pray throughout that. And that's when, for me, the most important step was step 2, because, coming to believe that there's something out there, because I didn't believe that there was anything out there. And I remember maybe the best point, the most profound thought I ever had was down the road in the woods, and because I got kicked out of the mission. They wouldn't let me in because I was drunk. And but I remember there was a dirty couch cushion, and I had my backpack, and I couldn't sleep, and I just remember praying a lot out of desperation, because I just run out of just places to go. And I just remember, I don't know if it's God that gave me the thought or whatever, but I had the thought that maybe like everything. This is a good thought. Everything that I ever needed was inside me the whole time. So, like I just didn't need anything else. Like I had love inside of me, and like I could. Maybe it was God was always there, and it was good that I finally believed that something was there, and then that voice probably come back that I listened to almost my whole life that said, "You're stupid, you're crazy," and I still got that voice sometimes that says, "You're nothing, you'll never add up to nothing." Misery, that disease, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it the devil, but there's definitely something out there that wants to kill me, and most of the people in this room, and it'll talk to me. It'll tell me it's all negative things, and it wants me back. And the part of it is, it's like it wants to kill me, but once it kills me, it would just move on to the next sorry son of a bitch. So it's like I listened to that voice too long, and I'd like to listen to the voice that says I have something special inside me, that I have some form of greatness that can help people. And this program is amazing. I wanted funny you think about stuff that you want to say, but that just all goes out the window. And I didn't bring any of those notes. I didn't see the sense in bringing notes because I don't write notes down when I go to a meeting. This, on page 11 in Bill's story, I've read this before. This is written 40 years before I was even born. But this guy got it. And he's talking about Ebby, the experience that he had when his friend come over, and he thought his friend was going to bring a bottle. And he just remembered his friend was a drunk mess. But this is him talking about his friend. He said, because his friend had found God. His friend had changed. And he said, this is in Bill's words, but he's talking about Ebby. He said, then he had, this describes my life perfectly. Then he had, in effect, been raised from the dead, suddenly taken from the scrap heap, and raised to a level of life better than the best he had ever known. My life today is better than the best it has ever been. I'm happier than the happiest I've ever been. So this had happened for this guy. And said, had this power originated in him? Obviously it had not. I see that because I'm the same man that I used to be, but there's no confusing me, this version of Jason, with the version that my kids got to see or my ex-wife got to see. My girlfriend Jessica, she asked me in bed one time. She said, were you this nice to your exes or something like that? And I said, babe, if I was this nice to people, they wouldn't be my exes, And it said, here was something at work in a human spirit which had done the impossible. This has changed. This is fucking the impossible. All ideas about miracles were drastically revised then. I believe in miracles because I see the miracle. When I look in the mirror, I can feel the difference. It talks about his roots grasp new soil inwardly and outwardly. I'm not even the same man. And I think a lot of people my family members, when they see me, they're like, what happened to this guy? And I just get those looks. It said he was on a different footing. And, I love this part too. He said, Abby asked him, why don't you choose your own conception of God? I thought that was profound because that spoke to me a lot because I didn't really like the white beard of Jesus. And I don't know what to think about that still. And I never criticize people because it talks about it in our inventory how we shouldn't be closed-minded about religious people and where they can help us. I think it's a miracle that I even believe in God now. So, and my God would say, when people say like, certain person wants me to go to church, and my God would say, you know, I worked 40-some years on this guy to even get him this close. So let's simmer down. I remember when I think of her urging me to go to church, I remember my ex-wife when we were in Long Lake Tavern, and she said, we were drinking. We just started dating, and I said, I had found this thing called alcohol, and I am prepared to. I finally found something I'm passionate about, and I said that I was going to stick with this. You know, I think I really like drinking, and I'm good at this so far. I remember her thinking that just along the lines of trying to change someone, but I remember her saying she would never try to change me, and she supported me in my drinking, and I was like, oh, she spent 17 years trying to change me. Another thing that this book just speaks to me, because I'm a real alcoholic. I've ruined my life. I was ruining my life, and this spoke to me when the fourth time when I was at Gilmore Community Healing Center, place where I get to work now. I remember this spoke to me about God. I was out there, and they were calling me in for lunch. My friend Rick was, and I was like, I'll be in. You know, and I just really got into this book, and because I knew that there were answers in this book. But he says, we never apologize to anyone for depending upon our Creator. So this book speaks to me. This is my Bible. So this is telling me that it was okay to believe in God, that I wasn't a pussy, I wasn't weak-minded or timid, that I could believe in God. It said it was okay, and I believe this book because this is for alcoholics, and I'm a real alcoholic. It says, we can laugh at those who think spirituality is the way of weakness. Paradoxically, it is the way of strength. I am strong because I believe in God. Contradictory to what I believe most of my life. It says, the verdict of the ages is that faith means courage. I have heart. All men of faith have courage. They trust their God. We never apologize for God. Instead, we let him demonstrate through us what he can do. We ask him to remove our fear and direct our attention to what he would have us be, that once we commence to outgrow fear. And I just never believed in God, and it's profound to have, for me to have a relationship with God, and to be blessed with all the things, all the people, all the beautiful people in my life these days. This is just a blessing. Like, my life is better than the best it has ever been. And I really wouldn't trade my life for anyone or anything. I really believe that I'm rich in different ways, and I wouldn't trade my life for the richest person in the world. And it's not the things, when I go to bed at night, I don't thank God for, I do, he knows I'm grateful for like the apartment, stuff like that, but I am grateful, I'm more grateful for the things that I can't hold in my hand, like for the first time I have some form of self-esteem, or, you know, I love people, and they say that love is an action here, but I come to believe that love is a feeling. You know, I love my kids when I would tell them, or my ex-wife, or other people throughout my life. I love them at that time as much as I was capable of loving them without loving myself. So, yeah, I can feel love. And what really started this off, this time in sobriety, I would get 5 or 6 months here and there. And what really started off is in January of 2017, I had been sober 5 or 6 months, and I drank 2 or 3 days. And one of those days, I got behind the wheel again. And if anyone watches NASCAR, I was drafting, basically, behind this car. That's why the state trooper pulled me over, because I was really close to this guy's bumper. And I think I was going to Indiana. And I wasn't even really that drunk. I was over twice the limit. But if anyone gets me, like, that's not even close to being drunk. I don't even know if I was buzzed. So, but he pulled me over, and I remember, like, I just always heard that a third DUI is definite prison time. And I was like, I had two things in my head. They gave me a $30,000 bond, which there was someone in jail for attempted murder, and they had a lesser bond than me. So the judge didn't like me, and he told me he didn't take kindly to people being over 2 times the legal limit at 9:26 in the morning. And I was like, I started late. And but I remember 2 things that always stuck in my head. Well, I knew I thought I was going to prison, and I said, this is going to be hard on my kids. And but I know that they got AA in prison, so if that's the way we got to do this, then that's the way we're going to do this. And I didn't want to go to prison, but this is what it's going to take. And the thing that bothered me, maybe more than that, was that my dad had been recently, because I was sober for a minute, he was telling my cousin that he works with that he was proud of me and that I was doing good. And it hurt me more that I was letting down my dad. So I was like, because it doesn't matter how old we are, or, we still want people to be proud of us. So that bothered me. And, so they sentenced me. Thank God they gave me OWI court. And this is the second time they put me on OWI court, because it didn't work out the last time. That's a long story. Because they put me on mental health recovery court. Crazy court. Because I got bipolar. And so what really happened is they put me in that, and I tried to do this on my own, and I tried to develop a relationship with God. And through praying a long time at New Beginnings one time, I believed, that's when I come to believe, too, is when I knew that those resentments and all those bad feelings for my ex-wife, that I didn't feel that way anymore. Even though they were my own creating, or, I created all this stuff, I didn't feel that. So I knew something was listening out there. And I didn't know if it was like positive affirmations or what. But I didn't feel that those bad feelings towards her. So when I got on OWI court, and this, I did drink earlier in that court system, because I was in a terrible relationship. I wanted to drink, and I didn't know how to deal with my life. And through working the steps to the best of my ability, it's not a one and done thing. My sponsors made it clear that this is working all 12 steps to the best of my ability. Every day of my life, making amends when I have to, and I never even like to say I'm sorry. That's another thing. My ex-wife used to say, she used to cry sometimes. I remember I could still hear her sobbing, and she would say stuff like, "You're nicer to your coworkers than you are to your own family." I remember she would say, "You never say you're sorry," and I would never say I'm sorry. I was never going to humble myself to God. I was never going to do any of that bullshit. That was for losers. And I didn't even know how to say I'm sorry. I didn't know how to express any emotions. I learned from what my parents taught me. And another story. Sorry, I skipped over it. I don't know what I was going to write down those notes, and they're pointless, like I said. But what really it was the OWI court that helped me out. And but really, my inspiration for this whole story was is when, May 28th, 2016, when I got a call here, and I was at the nude meeting, and it was my mom, and she's all sorts of messed up. But yeah, she was my best friend. She called here, and she was slurring her speech, and it was. I was mad. Sort of. I wasn't rude to her, but I wanted to get off the phone because I wanted to get back to a meeting, and she was interrupting me. And I could tell that she had got some pills because she loved pills. But that was the last time I wanted to get off that fucking phone. That was the last time I talked to my mom. But she always tried to help people, and fucking foster kids and shit like that. She always helped people. She always took care of people that were terminally ill in the family. She always took care of. If they had cancer, they would ride out the rest of their time at my mom and dad's house. She'd always take care of those people, but she never helped herself. But it was the next day when my dad called, and that was the new beginnings, and that was when he was sobbing. I thought it was a joke, my nephew playing a joke, but he said it like 3 or 4 times. He finally got the words out that my mom had died. He said, "Your mom's dead," because he's crying so hard, and that was the worst day of my life, really. When this shit kills people. Yeah, she died from an overdose, so that hurt me. But I talk to my mom when I pray, and I always call her Mom. I call her Mommy when I talk to her. But, that fucker that wants to kill me got her, so this is sort of personal. And, she's my best friend, and that was the worst day of my life. And in some ways, it was the best day of my life. Because I remember that night when I don't know if I was talking to God, but I was just like, I just want to die. For the first time, I really wanted to die because I wanted to be with my mom. And I remember, she wouldn't want that stuff, but it was only seconds, and I was just like, nope, I'm back. I got to do this shit. I got to do something. And from that moment on, I came to believe in heaven, because there's no one that's going to tell me that I'm not going to see my mom again. So heaven is the goal. And I think if we can believe in something so important as like a God of our understanding, then we can believe in a heaven of our understanding. My own conception of heaven, everyone gets in. Some people just can't talk, But that's really the right. Keep it short if they can, right? That is really my motivation for this, and I believe that kind-hearted people get into heaven. People like my mom get into heaven, and so that's really the thing that drives me. Is that I want to get into heaven. So that's my motive. It's it's hard to speak encouraging words to people. I tell people I'm proud of them, or you're going to do great, and I never said these things to other people. I sure as hell never said these things to my kids. So then when I say these things to my kids especially, they're like, well, where did this guy come from? And I want to get to heaven. I want to be with my mom. And it was Vinny. He works at the Gilmore. He's the first time, one of the times in rehab, he read the extended version of the Serenity Prayer, and it said, supremely happy with him forever in the next life. And I was like, that sounds pretty amazing. So, supremely happy sounds pretty damn good. And, I believe in heaven. I believe that, good people get there, and I want to get there. I want to be with my mom, and this program has just been so... It's been so amazing to me. I went from, being homeless, living in the woods, and I just never knew where I was going to stay at. I hated life. I hated everyone. I was such a miserable son of a bitch. It is the God's honest truth that I never met you people at that time, but I hated everyone in this room. I just hated everyone in this world. Most of all, I hated me. So it has changed everything about me. The capacity to feel loved, just everything has changed in my life. And I went through this. It talks in Bill's story because he's questioning his own sanity. He's wondering, am I sane or not? What's going on? And I talked to my sponsor, and I was like, what's going on here? I feel like I'm really, because I have bipolar. I was like, I don't know if I'm manic or what, but this is something different. And he had me read step 12 and 12 and 12, and he's like, I think you're awake. And is it just people that try to experience or express and to write what happens when you're spiritually awake? It's really hard to express into words what happens to you. It's just a feeling, and people can see it. They say before you can see it. the person is able to see it. But the only way I can describe it, and I feel it in my heart, I feel it in my throat, I feel it in my eyes when they tear up. If anyone, I felt this feeling the first time when I was a little boy watching Rocky. When he had went to the 16th round, he didn't do shit. And like he's gonna lose, you know. And then he just like this sleeping giant comes out, and you know he just shows all this heart. And you know, I was a little boy when I first watched that, and I was like, I like that. That's the same feeling when they would do those altar calls or something. And I liked that feeling, but I was ashamed. I was just like, I don't know what this is, but it's uncomfortable feeling. So I get those feelings a lot during the day, and people will be like, you know, how are you doing? And I have to tone it down because I'm like a 12 out of 10, and other people. And then I run into people that are really miserable and they're just stuck into drama, and I'm like, man. I do try to offer words of encouragement to people, but I have to get the hell out of there because those people just suck me, drain the energy right out of me. I was about to say something bad. He would have been taken man. But, you know, I thank God for this life because Gordon helped me out. You're the one that told me to give all the glory to God. And that's always helped me. It's just, you know, because there's nothing different in me. God came into my life. And it says that God doesn't make too hard of terms on people that ask for him. It's like he's right there. He's like, my whole life, he's like, grab my damn hand, you know. And I'm like, it can't be that easy. But it was that easy, you know. It says that God is everything or he's nothing. So for me today, you know, God is everything. And he's... So many people in this room have helped me out so much, you know, and it's because none of us is an island. None of us gets here alone, and some people think they do, and they try to do things on their own, and I did it forever, trying to do things on my own, but it just never worked for me, and there's like a certain type of victory in admitting defeat and saying that I can't do this on my own, but I want to do this on my own. But when you start reaching out for help, there's just an overabundance of people that are like, hey, come on. Because people that got it, people that are awake, they're like, there is a ton of this for everyone. Everyone can experience this shit. And so now they allow me to work at Gilmore, and it's a place that I've been a client there 4 times, and now they give me the privilege to you get to know a lot of people's information and just a lot of things that I'm surprised that they trust me with, because I was a drunk bum in the woods, man. And now you get a good job, and that is hard to call that a job or work, because like when you get a little down or something or anything or something's not going your way, you walk 10 feet to detox, and you start encouraging people, and you start saying, man, I was a resident here 4 times, and now I work here. And they're like, they all want to know how to work there. But it's like, I get it. Just skip recovery. Just go right there. But it is such a blessing when you get to, these people think they get something from me, but it's me that's getting it, you know. That's where the selfish part. That's where I'm getting stuff. I'm getting fed by, you know, sitting down with a guy in detox and just talking to him for 20 minutes, half hour, whatever. And it's like, that's beautiful. That's why that's hard. It's hard to take a check when you get to do something that I tried to do for a long time, this whole time in recovery, you know, for free. And then they're compensating you for it, and you know, there's so many beautiful people in that rehab, in this room, everywhere in this world. And like one thing that bothers me about when people celebrate like Janis Joplin or Jim Morrison or people that had great talent or they were famous, and they're like, well, they died, and it's they were famous people that had talent that were addicts. I've seen thousands of people in this world that have great talents that God only gave to them, and they're wasting. And they're going to just die, and no one's going to see their talent. So these people are no more remarkable than anyone in this room. Everyone has greatness in them. So I just remind myself. I try to say good things to myself every day. I just try to be in the moment and just love this life, because I know some people think, I get the feeling like in meetings, like some people think they're holier than thou, or like I got this. And some people do have maybe a better recovery plan. Obviously, some people are better financially set. They have better assets at their disposal, but there's no one that's any farther away from that next drink than anyone. And it's like, I just remember that when, like one drink, one hit off a joint, I throw all this away. And I don't really give a shit about the material possessions. But it's like your self-esteem, your love for yourself, love for others, the confidence that I'm trying to build up with my kids. All those things go out the window. And I don't want to lose those things. And I have every faith when I look back and see all the circumstances that God has brought me through, that it's going to keep getting better. It's just, I know it will. I've seen it. And I feel like the power of the universe is on my side some days. And I really just feel that push, like urging me and just pushing me forward. Like, we got this. I took you through all that stuff. And I know that God didn't bring me this far just to only bring me this far. I just know that. So I believe that, I'm capable these days of doing something great, something special with my life. And that's all these feelings, this life is amazing. And I feel like my life was so messed up before, and it's been so great, this little window, I'm almost at 22 months, and I feel like it could be ripped out, because I remember being homeless, and I remember what I can remember when I was sort of coming to, about how I hurt people that I said that I loved. And I don't want to ever go back to that. And I don't know what else to say, but I love everyone in this room, and it's amazing the ability to love people. So many people in this room have been a part of my journey. And I wouldn't trade this life for the richest man's life in the world. The Amazon guy, I don't think he's as happy as me. Because my life is so amazing. It'll make me cry. But I thank you guys for coming out, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you very much. And let's give him another round of applause. All right.